Thank you for tuning into my channel where you find all about art journals, mixed media, assemblage, collage and anything else that sparks my interest. Hi, my name is Grob and I'm glad you are here. Hey all, welcome to my channel. For those who are new here, I'm glad you're here, and for those who are since a while with me, glad to see you again. So I thought in this time we're gonna do some easy stuff, just to brighten up our days. So I was thinking about doing some tags the way this one is somewhat similar. And I tried to have not too many things, which most of us who do craft may have in their house. If not, I do give you option for some alternatives, but let's start. Now, first thing what I'm gonna use, I do have scraps of heavy watercolor paper. I mean, if you don't have heavy watercolor paper, you still can glue like two mixed media papers together or two lightweight heavy watercolor papers. Just something that takes the acrylic paint. You could even use cardboard. If so, then I would recommend that you first gesso it, because the cardboard does dull the colors and we want bright colors now. We need bright colors, don't we? Anyway, then I have random tissue paper, which is from a packaging. Nothing fancy. You probably all have it. I do have pieces of cardboard because I'm running out of foam tape, but I want to raise up the butterfly, so I'm going to use that instead. Some sort of yarn or ribbons or pieces, thin pieces of fabric. Maybe you can tear a piece of fabric instead. That's another solution. I do have sort of watercolors in the brushes. This happened to be from Jane Davenport. Any watercolor would work. I like them because they are bright. So but instead you could use maybe acrylic ink or something like that. That's what we're gonna need to color in our butterfly. I could actually leave that here, huh? Couldn't I? Anyway, for the background we're gonna use acrylic paints. I like to stamp some sort of script. It doesn't matter, it's not about that we can read it, just any script stamp, and of course a butterfly stamp in a decent size. Don't go for those tiny ones. We really want, like, this is on the widest area, it is about 3 inch. We're gonna need any permanent ink. I happen to have StazOns. There are other permanent inks out there. I do have a stencil, those happen to have from Tim Holtz, and I don't have tags and I don't gonna buy out now. So that's what I'm using. I'm using as a template, and then I'm using into patterning my area as well. So if you don't have, I mean, it's basically a rectangle and then the corners off and punch a hole. I mean, it's nothing fancy. So I do use Mod Podge to glue down the tissue paper, but I do use tacky glue for the lace pieces, which I have here on the side, any lace pieces, and also the butterfly with the cardboard strips. So I think I mentioned gesso. Don't forget gesso. We're gonna need gesso also. I think that's about it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the butterfly, because that has to dry, and then in the meantime we can work on the tag itself. So first things first, I'm gonna stamp, and if you have a watercolor paper, there is a smooth side and a more rough side. Try to stamp on the smooth side to get really crisp outlines. If you like it blurry, then go for the other side. I mean, it's what you prefer. And I always make sure that I have enough ink on my stamp, and then I give it a little bit of time to transfer the ink. It's not like at the post office where you make pam pam. You have to give the ink time to transfer. And that's one of those which has an already built-in cushion, so that should work pretty well. And if not, you can always put a little bit of foam underneath. Yep, that's good. I think I only can manage 3. I don't think I have room for 4. Now, before I go in with my watercolors, I let that dry a little bit, and I even might go in with the heat tool just to make sure that it really stays on. And while I'm at printing, I'm gonna print my tissue paper at the same time. I do double it up because it is a tissue paper and I don't want the ink on my craft sheet. Where did I put my other stamp? Here, take this one until I find another one. With the text stamp, I'm not too worried about having a perfect impression. It's just something in the background. So there's wrinkles on this paper, which mean the writing is going to be distorted, but I don't care. It's just about visual texture. Okay, put that aside and start working on my butterflies. I'm first gonna paint in all the bodies. Now I'm gonna wet first the area because I want the different colors to bleed into each other. So if I wet that a little bit, that helps the process. And I look sideways whether I have where the shimmer is, there is the water. So that's how I check if I have enough water or not. And I work one by one so that the water doesn't dry out while I'm working on the others. Now those colors are very well saturated. I mean, just a little bit goes a long way. That's why I still have them. So I pick it up with my water tank brush and add it at the bottom, but you could, well, actually I'm gonna do it here too. I need a little bit of double. That's the yellow. Now I did use this like opera pink, and again that's a very strong color. And this one is not such a strong color, so I dab in a little bit, but you have to try it out. I mean, I could test it here, so depending on what colors you use. I have the feeling I want a little bit more of that. We need bright. Okay. That's the first one. Maybe I'm gonna switch up the colors a little bit. Something with red, why not? I do like the mixture between this like opera pink and the yellow. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I do have the towel here on the side, and I dab it to clean off my brush when I change colors. I don't have a dark purple here, which I think I'm gonna try out here. Let's see what it does. Now I did add, as you can see, maybe you can see it, a little bit of bluish here, so that I don't have to cut really tiny details. And again, it is a very dark color per se, so I start with water first, and I try not to touch the butterfly itself, and I actually gonna start on this one, which maybe is already a little bit dry, so I need a little bit of blue here, and maybe a little bit here. That's all I need in blue. Now for the post stamps, I think I'm gonna use, no, I don't like that. Nope. That is this one. Let's see. Whoops, oh. Okay. That's like a grayish color I have here, which actually doesn't belong to the Jane Davenport. I don't remember what it is. Okay, now that has to put aside to dry, and I don't want to waste this paint here, so not sure what I'm gonna do with that, but I'll figure it out. Okay, the butterflies are over here to dry now. We're gonna work a little bit on the background of our tags. There are two ways. You can paint the whole thingy, or you can first make your tags. Sometimes I do it this way, sometimes I do it the other way. Today I feel like I want to do it like that. So I'm simply gonna copy that and then cut it out. If you have like those corner rounders, you could use those. There's the possibilities for how you want your tag is endless. So I'm gonna do my 3 tags off camera. I mean, you don't need to watch me doing those 3 tags. That would be kind of boring, wouldn't it? And then I will be back when I have my tags. Now I do have my 3 tags, and I use one of those big thingies to punch holes, but there are those handhelds, which you even can find in the construction section. Maybe your husband has one. Ask him about how to make holes. If not, then just take as like sort of an awl. It's not gonna look as clean as what I do here, but just to show you, the goal is to have something going through. So if I have my hole here and I don't have this punch, what I could do is getting some sharp tools. If I can put my hand on it, it is somewhere here, I don't know. Where did it go? Here it is. I take this one and just go through and widen your hole. For those who are with me since a while, I'm thinking that a lot of people now trying to figure out how to do crafty things, so that's why I explain more than what I usually do. So it's not so neat, but it won't be visible when you put in the yarn. Just saying, don't feel you have to have everything. Now sometimes I like to work on scrap pieces of paper. I mean, I just use old catalogs as a drop paper, so I don't have to clean so much. Now, to apply the paint, I actually use a wet wipe. If you have a brush, you can use a brush, you can use your fingers, whatever you want. But sometimes I like to work with those things because it gives a more of a transparent look. Now, do you have to have these colors? No, you can choose your own colors, but just make sure that you have a contrast to your butterflies. That's all. I mean, you could turn the butterflies in blue, green, and have the background reddish, orangey, pinky. It's just the way you like it. And I try to have my color splotches like in 3 spots. This is sort of a pleasing arrangement. This was actually an iridescent. If you don't have it, doesn't have to be an iridescent. This is a very opaque paint, so it's more important that I dilute it somewhat with my wet wipe, because I want sort of like transitions between the blue and the green. So and this one I do right with the leftovers. Here we go. Now, I said I'm gonna use a stencil. If you don't have stencils at home, look around. Maybe you have those netting bags from the fruits that gives sort of a stencil too. Or just the other thing, and I'm actually gonna grab. Maybe you have bubble wrap at home, that works too. I'm gonna show both ways. I'm gonna do the first with the stencil, and the second I'm gonna do with the bubble wrap. Do the other two with the bubble wrap. Bubble wraps come in different sizes, so I do have a really small one, but you can certainly also use the big ones. And it did lift up paint from the last project. I don't have a problem with that. It doesn't bother me. Now that again has to dry. I don't need that page no more. Now I'm gonna fussy cut my butterflies, and it's always the best if you have smaller pieces to handle. So I rough cut it first, more or less, and then I'm gonna leave a border. I don't go close to the lines. That's why I actually have painted a little bit blue around. And you rather turn your paper, not so much your scissor. Sometimes you have to go in from the other side so that you get into the really deep angles. It's sometimes easier if you do it in steps. I'm actually gonna zoom in. Okay, now what I do right away before I forget it, I go around with my ink to have sort of a black border around. I just like that look. That's not for everybody. If you don't like it, just leave it as it is. Now I'm gonna cut out the other tools off camera and then I will be back. Now what I like to do is to give them a little bit more movement. I'm gonna slightly bend them a little bit. And it really helps if you do it over like a pencil or a marker, whatever, something roundish. So I bend first inwards and then I take the tip and bend it outwards. So first inwards and then bend the tip outwards. That gives really dimension to the... it's kind of hard to see, I know, and I'm actually going to zoom it out again. Compared to that, can you see it? Well, in real you probably can see it. Just try it out. I just use some knitting needles would work too. Just something roundish. Inwards and then this outwards again. Just gives a little bit of... Maybe from the side you can see it better. It just gives a little bit of something. You know, I like my something. It's time for our tissue paper, and I was thinking if you don't have tissue paper, you could use something like that. The only thing with those newspapers, it's more opaque. That what I like about printing on tissue paper, some text, it is going more into the tag than like being on the tag. That's what I like. And what I always do, I do tear my pieces. It's just the look I like. Okay. And again I do first bigger pieces and then I do it more detailed. And I hold it really close between my two fingers, which are very colorful right now. Sorry about that. So, but I was playing with paint. And by the way, just so you know, there are products out called cream barrier or invisible gloves. If you do work a lot with acrylic paints, that's really something you should consider to have on hand. Just some plain hand cream would work at least a little bit. So, and as you can see, I always put it sort of in an angle on my thing. It just looks interesting than when just straight on. So I usually have sort of an angle in those kind of works. Now I use Mod Podge to glue those things on. Any fluid medium would work too. If you don't have any medium or Mod Podge, just dilute some white glue with water, a ratio about 50-50, depending a little bit on how thick your glue is. So you get a consistency which just pours out easily, and you spread it around. And because it's a tissue paper, you have not to worry about having it underneath, because it's gonna seep through anyway. So I just add a little bit to start to keep it in place, and then I just add a little bit underneath that, but then I actually work on top of it. And the fingers are most of the time the tools that are the best. That's why I use them. You sort of just have a good feeling how delicate the tissue paper is. It could rip if you are rough with the tissue paper, so just saying. and that's why I think fingers are softer than any tools. But if you want, of course, if you need to, of course you can use tools too. Any soft brush would work. And this one we're gonna do in the other direction, just for some variety. Again, I'm just putting a little bit to hold it in place. Here we go. And then I pour it on top. It doesn't work with the magazine pages. I wouldn't do that with the magazine pages. With any typical paper it doesn't work. It has to be either tissue paper or napkins. Napkins work the same way. To make sure that it really sticks down, it has to be either tissue paper or napkins. And by the way, I use a matte version, not a glossy one. Okay, that has to dry again. Now for the lace, I won't do Mod Podge. I'm not sure that it really would stay in place, so I actually use a really good tacky glue. Any strong glue that dries clear is suitable for gluing on your laces. And then I take a piece of tissue paper. Here we go. Oh, okay, I'm gonna cut it off. Now I'm gonna use the heat tool. You could use a hair dryer or just let it dry naturally, but I want to work on. I think I should have done before I even added the lace is going around the edges again with black ink. I hope I don't color in the white lace, which I really don't want, but if so, oh well, it's not the end of the world. So you hold it like slightly, the steeper you hold it, the more you get a border. If you are just perpendicular, you only have the edge, but I want a little bit into the tag also, if I can have it. Again, only if you like it. I just like that look. Another thing I also did on the other tag is I did add random text stamping right on the collar without looking if it is upside down or not. And another fun thing you can do, which is not on the other tag, but I'm just thinking about, take any lid you have and make also some circles. Now to the butterflies. As I said, I was running out of foam tapes and I'm not going to go out and buy them right now. But what I do instead, I do cut pieces of cardboard, and how many pieces you have to stack depending a little bit on the cardboard thickness you have. So maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. And then I simply glue them together. It doesn't need a lot of glue, I mean, add it to my butterfly and then put it on my tag. And as you can see, I don't care whether they are the same, exact same size. It simply doesn't matter. I just stack them, glue them to my butterfly. And I do them slightly different than just... Okay, now I know where I have where I have room for my pink. And for this one I'm thinking I'm gonna go for some red. I want to repeat the colors that are in the butterflies onto my tag, so it ties together more. So again, I'm just simply using my fingers. You could use again a wet wipe, that's up to you. But I just want it. And this time I'm gonna go for a little bit of textures, means I'm gonna leave the texture. I don't spread it out. Just another variation. It's kind of hard to see. And again, I do it in 3 places. They don't have to be big places. Try not to hit the lace, but if I hit it, oh well. Again, I have to dry that before I can add my yarns. There is one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning. I do print out myself words which I want to add to the tag. They happen to be in English, they could be in any language, and just on an ordinary computer paper, nothing's fancy. In a rather small size, I have for other objects I have other, and they're like beautiful, amazing and wonderful. And I think butterflies are wonderful and amazing and beautiful. That's why I use those words. But you could use, maybe you want to make the card for a person, for a specific person, so you could actually add her name there. And again, you can use any glue you want, like a white glue or the Mod Podge or whatever. Sometimes I even use glue stick. If you have a glue stick for this, that would work too, because there's not a lot wear and tear on that. And I'm gonna place it here. And just to make it a little bit more pop, and again I'm gonna zoom it back out so you can actually see it. Here we go. I just go along with the graphite with this one. There are several options what you can do. Now, instead of the pencil, you also could use a permanent marker, which gives a little bit, it's depending what you like, gets more bold of a line. That's another idea. And if you like, and if you have, you also could use like water-soluble crayons. That's carmine pink, that's I don't want. I want the chili red, sounds good to me. Which you then have to activate again with water. Those are the ink dents, which are water soluble, but once they are dry, they stay. They are ink based, not like the other crayons. That's another option. And our last step is to add the yarns like I have here. So for this piece, I can zoom you out again. I did find a really nice red scrap piece of fabric, and I simply gonna tear a little strip. I'm gonna use that together with this, I think with this. gonna double up this. Then I go through the hole and have a loop here and pull those ends through the loop. That's one way you can do it. So I think the red fabric is really nice with this red butterfly. So here we are with 3 tags made with just some basic materials. I hope this tutorial was somewhat helpful or at least inspirational. If so, please give me a thumbs up, leave a nice comment, and if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and the bell. Take care, see you soon somewhere online.